Hey everyone, it's Susan Jones. Welcome back to a different type of video today. Instead of doing my Susan Sunday Spotlight, I am going to do a Get Ready With Me video. So you can see me here, sans makeup. Now, full disclosure, I will say that, let's see, about 80% of the time I'm wearing no makeup at all. So if you see me at the local Target, this is what I look like. Barefaced, a little bit red. I have rosacea. When I turned 30, my rosacea started to kind of poke through. I try to keep the redness down and the flare-ups from happening pretty well with my skincare routine, but I can tell you whenever I drink or whenever I'm out in the sun, my cheeks flare up big time. They get hot, red, and they get all bumpy. So first, I'm just gonna go ahead and start putting on some makeup. I'll tell you what I'm doing and we'll just chat. Join me. Now, whenever I'm wearing makeup, especially if I'm using like foundation, I will always use a primer because it kind of protects the barrier of the skin from my pores all getting clogged and everything, and it just helps with my breakouts. So the primer that I use is the Tatcha Silk Canvas one. Just take a little bit of that, prime my skin, pat it in. Mostly focus here on my nose where I have big pores. Okay, so once the primer's on, I will go ahead and start my foundation. The foundation that I use is the Peach Perfect Too Faced one. It's a matte foundation. Again, I have oily skin, so it tames the oil. And it's in the color Porcelain because I am pale AF. So, how is teaching in Las Vegas, or how was teaching in Las Vegas different than here in Massachusetts? First of all, let me say that in Vegas, it was my, that was my first year teaching. So I had actually done all my schooling up here in Massachusetts, and then moved out to Las Vegas without a job and got hired in November. So the reason I got hired in November is because there was a surplus of first grade students that year, and they actually needed to hire 2 first grade teachers. So I started in the middle of the year in November, which was a little crazy. And so also the very first year I was teaching in Las Vegas, they hadn't accepted the Common Core yet. So there were definitely a few standards things that were just different that I was not used to. I had completed my student teaching in a 1-2 combined classroom and got, again, a first grade job in Las Vegas, which I loved. But there were some different like standards things, like for instance in math, something that stood out was that students in Massachusetts, the standard was that they had to learn how to count to, they had to count to and identify numbers up to 100. And at that time in Las Vegas, it was only up to 50. And I don't exactly know why that was, but I do know something else that really was different was that many of the students in my class, it was about 50-50, had only done part-time kindergarten or half-day kindergarten as opposed to full day, which is a huge difference here in Massachusetts. Here in Massachusetts, most of the children that I know have free full-day kindergarten, and in Vegas, you had to pay if you wanted full day, and all the other students for free public education, it was only half-day. So that was a very at the beginning of the year in first grade, it was very obvious which students, both academically and behaviorally, were just used to a full day of school, a full 6 hours as opposed to the 3. After foundation, I go ahead and do concealer. The concealer I use is this Maybelline Age Rewind. This is from the drugstore. It's like $7 and it's awesome. I always have like dark circles under my eyes, which I don't know why because I literally sleep like 8 hours a night minimum. I always need my sleep, but it's probably just fun hereditary thing. Another big difference in my Vegas versus Massachusetts experience was definitely the pay. This is not super surprising because the cost of living in Las Vegas was way cheaper than it is to either rent an apartment or buy a house here in Massachusetts. So that wasn't surprising, but truthfully, starting off in Las Vegas, my teaching salary here compared to there would be about a $15,000 difference. So when I moved back home to Massachusetts, it seemed like a pay raise, even though, you know, my apartment and all that was way more expensive, but my paycheck was also a lot bigger, which was nice. The other thing which I didn't know until I moved to Las Vegas was the Las Vegas school district is humongous. It's one of the biggest in the whole country, and I had no idea. So what that meant for me is when I applied for jobs out in Las Vegas, I would apply with Clark County School District, which was again, this huge district. So I went through a couple different interviews, and then the school, if I got accepted, I would go into like a pool of candidates, and then the school that saw like my profile and liked what I had to offer, my resume, they would call me and I would interview with them. And potentially whoever was contacting you could be like an hour or an hour and a half away because the district was so large. And at that point I was not going to say no to any job that I got, most likely. So I was super lucky to get hired as a first grade teacher like 15 minutes north of where I lived, and it was an amazing little school. I guess it wasn't that little, but it was an amazing school that I just loved. So over here in Massachusetts, they have like every single city is basically its own district, which is interesting in a lot of ways because like this one school could be here and then about half a mile away there's another school, and they have extremely different ways of going about things. So the principals, the superintendent, all of it is very different. Meaning where you get hired here in Massachusetts, your experience as a teacher, as a student, as a parent is extremely different from one city to the next, which is a little more tricky, I think. Okay, after I went and go ahead and paled out my face, I'm gonna add some color back in, but first I'm gonna set the foundation with my powder. So even within my schools in Massachusetts that I taught at, I've taught at 2 different school districts. One was up closer to the New Hampshire border. It was a larger district. There were 6 or 7 teachers, I think, on my grade level team. And teaching in that school district as opposed to where I taught last year part-time, where there were only like 2 or 3 teachers on a team, a much smaller district. It was like the world of difference. World of difference in terms of their curriculum, in terms of, you know, how they have to submit their lesson plans, different in terms of collaboration in your team, different in terms of, you know, what you have to show to your principal and the observations that you get. Everything was just very, very different. Neither I'd say was like better or worse than the other, honestly. It was just different, and so you don't know what to expect, and every time you get a new job here in Massachusetts, it's just different than what you had before. So for bronzer, I go ahead and use this Too Faced. It's the milk chocolate one. They have a bunch of different shades. This is, I think, their lightest one because, like I said, I am pale. I'm gonna go ahead and go under here, kind of contour my face, up and around here. So that brings me to, somebody asked me to describe what my job was like last year. For those of you that don't know, I was a first grade teacher in Las Vegas for 3 years, and then a first grade teacher here in Massachusetts for 2 years where I had my own classroom. And then I actually took 2 years off to stay home with my boys. And then last year, a job popped up on School Spring that just sounded so perfect, I could not say no. It was a part-time literacy teacher position where I would go to school from 9 to 12 and basically do pull-out small group reading, which is like, it literally could not have sounded any more perfect. I basically worked directly with the reading specialist at the school, who was a sweetheart, and oh my gosh, I love her to death. And we kind of assessed all the K-2 students at the beginning of the year and determined what they need to work on, and her and I would just split up the groups and we would go ahead and just pull. And it was just guided reading group after guided reading group all day long. From 9 to 12 a.m. it was perfect. In kindergarten we did do a little push-in to help with the implementation of Reader's Workshop, which I loved and I've been trained on, so that was great. And then also to help get their guided reading groups started up towards the end of the year. Now that I'm bronzed up a little bit, I didn't really do much contour, just kind of made my face a little darker. I'm gonna go ahead and go in blush, and this is like a trial one of the NARS Orgasm Blush, which is like a super famous blush. Yeah, and then about halfway through the year, sometime around, I want to say, I think right after Christmas break actually, I actually absorbed the position of the other literacy teacher who worked with grades 3 and 4. So I went into school now at 8, from 8 to 12, and I pulled small group for the older students as well. So that job was amazing, and it was sad. It was a really hard decision at the end of the year if I wanted to continue doing the part-time gig, which was great, but it still took so much time away from my boys when they were home. Theo's going to kindergarten in like two more years, and I think even just doing the part-time let me see like how fast it goes by, and like 1 year flew by, and just knowing I won't get that time back. So I decided this past year to just stay home again, be with my boys, and I don't regret this at all. But when the time does come, I think I will look for a position maybe like that again. Which actually, my next question was, do you see yourself going back into the classroom in any sort of capacity? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. You know, I only taught for 6 years. Like, I'm not burnt out. I truthfully love it. I loved my time with the kids last year. I did miss my own classroom though, so I'm not sure exactly how I'll go back into a classroom. I loved the part-time because it did give me the best of both worlds, but then, you know, if my boys were in school, I might, you know, I don't mind doing a full day, of course. So we'll see. I'm not exactly sure how, because like I said, I did miss, even though I loved reading, I did miss teaching the other subjects and missed having my own classroom to kind of decorate and manage and just have that like closeness with the whole class instead of just certain students from the class. But something I didn't anticipate was I got to know like every student in the school. That's not true. That's an over-exaggeration. But I got to know so many students from all the different grades. That was something I wasn't used to. I also got to know so many of the teachers last year because I worked with all of them. You know, I think especially the first year in a new school, you can find yourself definitely going like reverting into your classroom and not talking to anybody. And at my other schools, I definitely knew everybody on my team very well. But I did struggle like knowing all the other teachers that were in the school, or getting to know them on like a closer level. And this was awesome because I got to really see all the different like teaching strategies that teachers in my school last year would use, which was just like eye-opening and really amazing. Okay, blush is done. I'm gonna do a little highlight on my face. So my highlight, I just feel like makes me look very human because like, again, I look so like matte, which is good because in about an hour I'm gonna be oily. I just use a little fan brush and I use the Champagne Pop Becca highlighter. This I just put on my cheeks, like up here, and down my nose. And then I'll go ahead and blend that out a little bit. So yeah, a bunch of long-winded answers for yes, I see myself going back into a classroom. Loved my job part-time last year. Don't know how I'll go back into a classroom or exactly when, but probably within the next couple of years, if someone will take me. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is my brows, which I have never done on camera. Actually, I've never done my makeup on camera, so this is going to be interesting. I always brush them up. My brows are super sparse because I am a victim of, you know, 7th grade over plucking. So basically line the bottoms, line the tops, fill it in a little bit, especially in the front where it is super bare, and then I just brush all the product in to kind of make it meld together. So yeah, somebody else asked why I moved out to Las Vegas in the first place, and I was born and raised up here in Massachusetts. I've said this before, but if you don't know, my like entire family, like aunts, uncles, everything, live within a 2-mile radius of my house. And so I was used to growing up with just a ton of family around all the time. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. It was just always busy, wild, fun, lots of family, lots of love, great. So after I graduated college, I was definitely ready for like a little change. And my husband, who was then my boyfriend, his family lived all over the country. So we had somebody in California, someone in Atlanta, someone in Baltimore, and someone in Tennessee, just like all over, which I thought was really fun and really cool. We got to travel to all those places, which I'd never really been. And when we graduated college, Parker told me that his sister, you know, had recently moved to Las Vegas. And we kind of looked it up a little bit. We saw how cheap it was to live there, which we could not get over. And it was kind of like a why not decision. I had a feeling, you know, if we got married and had kids, which is kind of where our relationship was going, at least in my mind it was, that we would come back here and do it because I knew I wanted to have a lot of family around and a lot of help with all those things. So I thought this was like the perfect time. Let's go have fun, get it out of our system, kind of enjoy living somewhere else. So that was kind of a quick decision. We talked to his sister and she very graciously let us live with her while we got jobs and were able to kind of stand on our own 2 feet. But yeah, so without jobs and without any sort of like real future, we packed up our car. We only had 1 car, it was my car, so we packed up our car with everything we had and drove. We took 6 days to drive from Massachusetts to Las Vegas. We stopped at a bunch of different places on the way and we took our very first road trip and boom, moved to Vegas. It was the best decision. I love Las Vegas. Love, love, love it. I definitely consider it a second home. But, and just like we kind of expected, when we wanted to get married, we moved home, had the babies, my whole family lives here. They babysit quite often. It is wonderful. So I don't regret any of the decisions we made about moving and moving back. It has just been like the best for our little family. Now I'm gonna do a quick little eye shadow. When I go out on like date night, I like to do a lot of fun, but just during the day, I basically put a color in the crease, like a darker one, and then usually just a little shimmer or something here. I do always use this NARS, what's it called, smudge proof eyeshadow base, because I have super oily eyelids, and if I don't use this, all my eyeshadow will just be like gone. For eyeshadow, the palettes I use the most often are this Naked Urban Decay one. This is the original. When I found out that they weren't selling it anymore, I had to go ahead and buy a brand new one. So I use that all the time. It just has like a bunch of different, very basic colors. And I do one color all over the lid. This is like a lighter color, just to set that base that I put on and give myself a base to start. Now I will take a darker color and put it in my, it's kind of like just a bronzing, like a bronzer brown color. You can probably see that right away. And I will go ahead and put that in my crease and just blend it out. Keep it a little darker on the outside here. So I'm going to go ahead and cover this up anyway with a lighter color. But again, that just gives me some dimension. Do the same thing on the other side. Okay, that's pretty even. I think in the camera it probably looks like this eye is darker because there's so much light coming in from this side. Just driving me a little crazy right now, but that's fine. And then I'll go ahead and do like, this is the Tarte, this is like a Tarte, what is it, Rainforest of the Sea palette that I actually got from my BoxyCharm. But yeah, BoxyCharm, it's like $20 a month and you get a full-sized, you get 5 full-size products, which I thought was pretty cool. So it's like Birchbox or Ipsy, but full-size. It is $20 a month instead of $10, so it's a little more expensive. And then I just take this lighter, like that whitish color. I like to put that underneath my brow bone a little, right there. The high point of my brow bone, and on the inner corner. Almost done. Then I use a little eyeliner and line my bottom lid. I actually don't use eyeliner on my top lids unless I'm like going all out, but sometimes I will line my upper waterline. Makes my eyelashes look thicker. And then mascara. My favorite mascara is Benefit's Roller Lash. This is amazing. If you want, I can go ahead and like list all these out that I use, but it's pretty much like go on YouTube and type in beauty tutorial. I just like copy everything that they do. So yeah, most of the questions were about, you know, Vegas and teaching. So there were a couple other little questions. Somebody asked me how many siblings I have. I think I already answered that. I am the oldest of 4. We are all exactly 2.5 years apart. So between me and my youngest sister, there are 10 years. So we were all 3 years apart in school. It goes me, and then I have a younger brother, and then 2 younger sisters. And I'm pretty sure I said this, but just FYI, this type of makeup is like basically what I do for filming when I'm doing my YouTube videos, or if I'm going out for any sort of like date night or something fun like that. Most of the time I wear no makeup whatsoever, and when I was teaching, I would not put all this time into it. I'm being totally honest, not at all. When I was teaching, I would literally just get like a powder, but this is also before I knew, because this didn't make me look that great, just FYI. But I would just get a powder foundation and just like all over my face to kind of like even out my skin tone color, throw on a little blush, and put on like a lip balm that maybe had some color in it, and I was out the door. That is it. Like 7 months ago, I learned how to do all this thanks to YouTube. And also it's just kind of fun. I just like getting to play around with it. It makes me feel pretty. It looks cool. So yeah. All right, last but not least is my lips. These are the top colors I have in my makeup bag. If you can see a pattern here, I clearly like to use this like pinky nude color. The last question that somebody asked me was, what are some of your favorite hobbies? And what's your guilty pleasure? So in terms of hobbies, exercising. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram or anything, but I'm training for my second half marathon, and I just love to work out. I always have. I played year-round basketball my entire life, and even when I went to college, wasn't playing basketball anymore, but I was constantly working out or running or just like being active. It's such a huge stress relief. But yeah, one of my younger sisters actually convinced me last year to do a half marathon, and honestly, zero part of me wanted to do it, but I promised her I would, so off we went, and we trained for 14 weeks, and I completed it, and it was actually like amazing. I was on such a high afterwards that this year we are training for our second one. In terms of my guilty pleasure, that would definitely be hopping in bed with my iPad and watching crappy shows. The second the boys go to bed, I kind of hop in bed with my iPad, and for about an hour or so, I will just watch Real Housewives, I will watch X on the Beach, I will watch Teen Mom. I'm 31 and I watch like the shows that like 20-year-olds are on. I just love it. It's so trashy, but MTV's The Challenge is like one of my all-time favorites forever. Last thing I do if I am going like out for the night, or if I am or if I'm shooting a video, I use a setting spray to kind of set it all and make it stay in place. So this one is the Urban Decay All Nighter. Does not smell good. So yeah, that's it for the day. If you like this type of video, it was like a little different. It was just fun. And if you have any other questions, I can do one of these again in the future. You can go ahead and drop them in the comments below, and I'll collect them until next time. But yeah, thanks for getting ready with me. Make sure you go ahead and click subscribe and click the bell if you want to be notified of any of my new videos. Be on the lookout Sunday for your newest Sunday Spotlight game. This is a fun one. I'm super excited about it. And until next time, bye. Oh, bonus, ready? I don't know if you watch YouTube beauty channels, but tell me if you know these people. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. That's one. Number 2, see if you know number 2. Hi, how are you? And number 3, hi sisters. Those are 3 beauty gurus. If you know them, leave them in the comment below. I'm so lame. Bye guys.